The rain drummed against the corrugated metal above my head, each drop echoing through the hollow space beneath the riverside bridge like a funeral march. 3 years I'd called this place home, if you could call a cardboard fortress surrounded by shopping carts and the stench of desperation a home. The irony wasn't lost on me that the bridge I sheltered under was named after our childhood street, Riverside Drive, where my sister Elena and I had once raced our bikes and dreamed of conquering the world. Now Elena was conquering it, and I was hiding from it. Marcus Chen? The voice cut through the steady percussion of rain, crisp and familiar despite the years that had weathered it. I looked up from my damp paperback, a water-damaged copy of The Count of Monte Cristo I'd found in a dumpster, and saw her. Designer heels clicking against wet concrete, a camel-colored coat that probably cost more than most people's rent, and those same sharp green eyes that had always seen too much. Elena. She stood there like a vision from another life, her auburn hair pulled back in a perfect chignon, her success worn like armor. The last time I'd seen her was 5 years ago at Dad's funeral, when she'd tried to hand me a check, and I'd thrown it back at her face. Pride, they say, comes before the fall. I'd fallen about as far as a man could fall. Jesus, Marcus. Her voice cracked, the polished veneer slipping for just a moment. What happened to you? I set down my book and pulled my tattered jacket tighter. Life happened, Elena. The same life you ran away from. She stepped closer, her expensive shoes navigating the debris with practiced care. This wasn't her first visit to places like this, I realized. There was something purposeful in how she moved, like she'd been searching. I've been looking for you, she said, crouching down to my level. Up close, I could see the concern etched in the lines around her eyes, the weight of whatever success she'd built. Ever since the funeral, I've had investigators. Investigators! I laughed, but it came out bitter. What am I? A missing person? You're my brother. The words hit harder than I expected. And you've been missing from my life for too long. That's when she told me about Technova, the software company she'd built from nothing after graduation. Government contracts, military applications, artificial intelligence that could predict market trends and human behavior. She was worth $47 million, she said, like she was reading from a grocery list. And she wanted to share it. I have a condo in Harbor View, she said, pulling out her phone. Fully furnished, paid for, and I want to transfer $5 million to an account in your name. No strings attached. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. Why? Because I owe you. Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Because when Dad got sick, you stayed. You took care of him while I chased my dreams. You lost your job, your savings, your fiancé, everything. While I was building my empire, you were watching our father die by inches. The memory hit like a physical blow. Sarah leaving, taking our engagement ring and my self-respect with her. The medical bills that swallowed my 401k, my savings, my future. The nights spent in hospital chairs while Elena sent flowers and apologies from Silicon Valley board meetings. Marcus, let me do this. Let me make it right. I wanted to say no. Pride, that familiar enemy, whispered that I should refuse, should stay in my cardboard kingdom rather than accept charity from the sister who'd abandoned us. But the rain was getting heavier, and I was tired of being cold, tired of being invisible, tired of eating from soup kitchens and sleeping with one eye open. Okay, I said. The transition was jarring. One day, I was Marcus the homeless guy, invisible to the world above the bridge. The next, I was Marcus Chen, mysterious new resident of Harborview's most exclusive building. The condo was a testament to Elena's guilt. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, hardwood floors that gleamed like mirrors, and a kitchen that belonged in a magazine. Elena had thought of everything. The refrigerator was stocked, the closets filled with clothes in my exact size, and my bank account showed a balance that made my hands shake when I checked it on the gold-plated laptop she'd left for me. For 3 months, I lived like a king. I ate at restaurants where the waiters called me sir, and the wine cost more per bottle than I used to make in a week. I bought a car, a sleek BMW that purred like a contented cat. I even started dating again, meeting women who saw the expensive watch on my wrist before they saw the haunted look in my eyes. But paradise, I learned, always comes with a price. It was a Tuesday when they came. I was making coffee in my designer kitchen, watching the morning news, when the doorbell rang. Not the gentle chime I'd grown accustomed to, but an urgent, demanding sound. 2 men stood in my hallway, wearing identical black suits that screamed federal authority. The older one was tall and lean, with silver hair and eyes like winter. His partner was younger, broader, with the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. Marcus Chen? The older one flashed a badge too quickly for me to read. I'm Agent Harrison. This is Agent Kim. We're with a specialized division of the Department of Homeland Security. We need to talk. My blood went cold. About what? Your sister's company, Technova. They pushed past me into the living room, their eyes cataloging everything. The expensive furniture, the art on the walls, the lifestyle that screamed of money with questionable origins. Nice place, Agent Kim said, running his finger along the marble countertop. Your sister's generous. What do you want? I tried to keep my voice steady. Agent Harrison settled into my leather chair like he owned it. Your sister, Elena, has developed some very interesting technology, artificial intelligence systems that can predict human behavior, influence decision-making, even manipulate emotional responses. Very valuable stuff. She runs a software company. That's what they do. This goes beyond software, Mr. Chen. We have reason to believe that Technova has been selling advanced psychological manipulation tools to foreign entities, enemies of the state who want to use them against American citizens. The room felt like it was tilting. That's impossible. Elena would never... Your sister has been under investigation for 18 months, Agent Kim interrupted. We know about the offshore accounts, the meetings with Chinese intelligence operatives, the technology transfers. What we need to know is how much you knew. I didn't know anything. The words came out too fast, too desperate. I was homeless until 3 months ago. I haven't talked to my sister about business ever. Agent Harrison leaned forward. Mr. Chen, your sister gave you $5 million and a $1 million condo. People don't give away that kind of money without strings attached. What did she ask you to do in return? Nothing. She said she owed me. For what? The question hung in the air like smoke. For staying with Dad, for sacrificing my life while she built hers, for being the good son while she became the successful daughter. But saying it out loud made it sound hollow, insufficient to justify such generosity. Family stuff, I mumbled. Agent Kim's laugh was sharp. Family stuff worth $6 million. Mr. Chen, we think your sister paid you to be her insurance policy, a clean face to hide dirty money, and now we need your cooperation to bring her down. They left me with a business card and a warning that felt more like a threat. Cooperate or become complicit in treason. Help them build a case against Elena, or watch my new life crumble as an accessory to her crimes. That night, I called Elena. Marcus? She sounded surprised, but pleased. How are you settling in? Is everything okay with the condo? Elena, we need to talk. The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if the call had dropped. When she spoke again, her voice was different, careful, measured. What about? Some federal agents came to see me today. They're asking about your company, about the money you gave me. They think you're selling technology to foreign governments. Another pause, longer this time. Where are you? She asked. At the condo. Don't leave. Don't talk to anyone. I'm coming over. She arrived an hour later, her usual composure cracked like a broken mirror. Her designer suit was wrinkled, her perfect hair mussed, and her green eyes darted around my living room like she expected to find listening devices behind every painting. Tell me exactly what they said, she demanded. I repeated the conversation as precisely as I could remember, watching her face grow paler with each detail. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time, staring out at the bay through my floor-to-ceiling windows. It's not what they think, she said finally. Then what is it? She turned to face me, and I saw something I'd never seen in Elena's eyes before. Fear. 3 years ago, the government approached me. They wanted Technova to develop psychological profiling software for counterterrorism operations. The ability to predict which individuals were likely to become radicalized, to identify sleeper agents, to analyze communication patterns for hidden meanings. That sounds legitimate. It was at first, but then they wanted more. They wanted software that could manipulate social media algorithms to influence public opinion, tools that could identify and target political dissidents, technology that could turn American citizens' own devices against them for surveillance. I sank into my couch, the expensive leather suddenly feeling like quicksand. I refused, Elena continued. I told them Technova wouldn't be part of creating a surveillance state, so they went around me. They classified my research, claimed it was a matter of national security, and tried to force me to hand over my algorithms. The foreign governments? I never sold anything to foreign governments, but I did start sharing my research with international human rights organizations, trying to get oversight, trying to prevent the technology from being weaponized. The meetings they're calling treason were with digital rights activists, not spies. The pieces were starting to fall into place, and I didn't like the picture they were forming. The money you gave me was supposed to be clean, Elena finished. I liquidated legitimate assets, personal investments. I thought if anything happened to me, at least you'd be taken care of. I thought the government would leave you alone. But they think I'm your front man. She nodded miserably. And now they're going to use you to pressure me into giving them what they want. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, watching shadows dance across my expensive walls. 3 months ago, I'd been sleeping under a bridge with nothing to lose. Now I had everything to lose, and the weight of it was crushing. The next morning, Agent Harrison called. Mr. Chen, have you had time to consider our conversation? I want to help, I lied, but I need to understand what you need from me. Simple. We want you to wear a wire when you meet with your sister. Get her to admit to selling technology to foreign agents. Help us build an airtight case. And if I refuse? Then we'll have to assume you're complicit in her activities. Bank records show you've received over $6 million from her in the past 3 months. Money connected to what we believe are treasonous activities. That makes you an accessory at best, a co-conspirator at worst. The threat was clear. Help them destroy Elena, or be destroyed alongside her. I agreed to meet them that afternoon. But first, I made a call. Elena, it's me. Meet me at Dad's grave. We need to talk. Riverside Cemetery sat on a hill overlooking the bridge where she'd found me. Dad's headstone was simple granite, nothing fancy, just his name and dates and the words beloved father that Elena had insisted on. We stood there in the autumn wind, 2 siblings who'd found each other again, only to face losing everything. They want me to wear a wire, I told her, to get you to confess to treason. She nodded like she'd been expecting it. Will you do it? The question cut deep. 3 months ago, the answer would have been easy. Elena was the sister who'd abandoned us, who'd chosen success over family, who'd left me to carry the weight of Dad's dying alone. I might have worn their wire gladly, but now, no, I said. I won't betray you. Even if it means losing everything I gave you? I looked down at Dad's grave, thinking about the man who'd raised us to believe in loyalty above all else. Maybe I don't deserve any of it anyway. Elena was quiet for a moment, then reached into her purse and pulled out a small device, a recording pen that looked like an expensive fountain pen. I've been recording my conversations with government agents for the past year, she said. Everything's on here. Their requests for surveillance technology, their threats when I refused, their attempts to classify and steal my research. Why are you giving this to me? Because they're right about one thing. I did make you complicit. The money I gave you came from accounts they're monitoring. Even if it was clean when I earned it, they can make it look dirty in court. You're in danger because of me. I took the pen, feeling the weight of it. What do you want me to do with this? Give it to someone who can use it. A journalist, a civil rights lawyer, someone who can expose what they're really trying to do. But Marcus... She grabbed my arm, her grip desperate. Once you do this, there's no going back. They'll come after both of us with everything they have. That evening, I sat in my designer condo, holding Elena's recording pen in one hand and Agent Harrison's business card in the other. The choice was stark: betray my sister to save myself, or risk everything to expose the truth. I thought about the man I'd been 3 months ago, huddled under a bridge with nothing but pride and a water-damaged book about revenge. Christo had spent years planning his retribution against those who'd wronged him, becoming wealthy and powerful enough to destroy his enemies. But in the end, revenge had nearly destroyed him too. This wasn't about revenge, though. This was about justice. I made my choice. The next morning, instead of meeting Agent Harrison, I drove to the offices of the Metropolitan Tribune, the city's largest newspaper. Their investigative reporter, Sarah Martinez, no relation to my ex-fiancé, thankfully, had a reputation for taking on government corruption. "Mr. Chen," she said when I finally managed to get past her assistant, "what can I do for you?" I placed Elena's recording pen on her desk. "I have evidence that the Department of Homeland Security is trying to force private companies to develop surveillance technology for use against American citizens. When my sister refused to cooperate, they framed her for treason and are now trying to use me to destroy her." Sarah Martinez leaned back in her chair, studying me with the sharp eyes of someone who'd heard 1,000 conspiracy theories and learned to separate wheat from chaff. "That's a serious accusation. What kind of evidence?" "Recordings of government agents making illegal requests and threatening retaliation. Financial records showing how they're manipulating investigation narratives. And documentation of technology that was supposed to protect Americans being repurposed to spy on them." She picked up the pen, turning it over in her hands. "Why bring this to me instead of going through official channels?" "Because the official channels are compromised. The same people investigating my sister are the ones trying to steal her technology." The story broke 3 days later. "Homeland Security accused of tech extortion" read the headline, followed by a detailed exposé of government overreach that made national news within hours. Sarah Martinez had done her homework, corroborating Elena's recordings with other sources, finding patterns of similar pressure applied to other tech companies, building a case that the surveillance state was growing beyond all constitutional limits. The reaction was swift and brutal. Agent Harrison called within an hour of the story going live. "You've made a serious mistake, Mr. Chen." His voice was ice-cold fury. "Obstruction of justice, interference with a federal investigation, possible treason charges of your own. We're freezing all your accounts and seizing all assets connected to your sister's criminal enterprise." "Good luck with that," I said, and hung up. Because Elena, brilliant Elena, had anticipated this move. The $5 million she'd given me had been quietly transferred over the past week into a legal defense fund managed by the American Civil Liberties Union. The condo deed had been transferred to a housing charity that provided homes for veterans. I owned nothing they could seize, because I'd given it all away. I was back to having nothing, but this time it felt like freedom. The trial lasted 8 months. Elena was charged with 18 counts of technology transfer violations, conspiracy to commit treason, and money laundering. The prosecution painted her as a greedy entrepreneur who'd sold American secrets to the highest bidder. The defense, led by the country's top civil rights attorneys, paid for by that legal defense fund, painted a different picture. They called witnesses who testified about government pressure to create surveillance technology. They played Elena's recordings in court, letting a jury hear federal agents making requests that skirted the edge of constitutional legality. They brought in expert witnesses who explained how the technology in question could be used to monitor and manipulate American citizens' behavior. I testified on the 7th day. "Mr. Chen," Elena's lawyer asked, "why did your sister give you $5 million?" I looked across the courtroom at Elena, sitting straight-backed at the defense table, her green eyes steady and calm despite everything at stake. "Because she felt guilty," I said. "When our father was dying of cancer, she was building her company while I stayed home to take care of him. I lost my job, my savings, my fiancé. She succeeded, and I failed. She gave me the money because she thought she owed me for the sacrifices I made. Did she ever ask you to help her with any illegal activities? Never. She never even talked to me about her business. The only thing she ever asked was that I be happy. Did you know about any technology transfers to foreign governments? I learned at the same time you did that there never were any technology transfers to foreign governments. The only transfers were to human rights organizations trying to prevent this technology from being weaponized against innocent people." The prosecution's case began to crumble on day 12 when Sarah Martinez testified about the additional evidence she'd uncovered during her investigation. Documents showing that the government had already been using similar surveillance technology on American citizens without warrants. Emails between federal agents discussing how to eliminate Elena as an obstacle to their programs. Financial records proving that the foreign payments they'd traced were actually donations to international digital rights organizations. On day 15, the judge dismissed all charges. Elena walked out of that courtroom a free woman, but not an unchanged one. Technova had dissolved during the investigation, her employees scattered to other companies, her life's work appropriated by the same government that had tried to destroy her. She was cleared of all criminal charges, but financially ruined. We met at Dad's grave again, 2 weeks after the trial ended. "I'm proud of you," she said, "for choosing to do the right thing even when it cost you everything." I looked out over the city, down at the bridge where she'd found me almost a year ago. I didn't lose everything. I lost money and possessions, but I found something more important. "What's that?" "I found out who I really am when everything's on the line." Elena smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in months. "So what now?" "You're broke again. I'm broke for the first time in 20 years. We're both unemployable in our respective fields. Now we figure out what comes next, together." She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. Plain white paper, simple black text. Chen and Chen, Consulting Digital Ethics and Privacy Rights. I had these printed yesterday, she said. I figure there are a lot of companies out there who could use help navigating the ethical implications of new technology, and a lot of people who need advocates against surveillance overreach. I took the card, feeling its weight. Not the weight of money or possessions, but the weight of purpose. Partners? She asked. Partners. 6 months later, Chen and Chen Consulting operated out of a modest office downtown, nowhere near as luxurious as Elena's old headquarters or my brief stint in Harbor View, but honest work that let us sleep at night. We helped tech startups build ethical frameworks into their products. We consulted with civil rights organizations fighting government surveillance. We testified before Congress about the need for stronger digital privacy protections. I never got my old life back. Sarah, my ex-fiancée, had married someone else while I was homeless and moved to another state. The government agents who'd tried to destroy us had been transferred to other departments, their careers barely dented by the scandal. The surveillance technology Elena had refused to build was eventually developed by other companies with fewer scruples. But I did get something back that I'd lost long before I ended up under that bridge: my relationship with my sister. And I learned something that the Count of Monte Cristo took 14 years to figure out. Revenge might be a dish best served cold, but justice is a meal best shared with the people you love. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't destroying your enemies. It's refusing to let them destroy what matters most. The rain still drums against windows when storms roll through the city, but now I listen to it from inside, warm and dry, working on cases that might help prevent other families from being torn apart by the collision of technology and power. And sometimes when Elena and I are working late in our modest office, sharing takeout Chinese food and arguing about the ethical implications of some new AI development, I think about that water-damaged copy of the Count of Monte Cristo I left behind under the bridge. Dantes got his revenge, but at the cost of nearly everything that made him human. We chose a different path and found that sometimes the best way to defeat your enemies is to become better than they ever imagined you could be. Elena was right about one thing. She did owe me for the sacrifices I made. But it turns out what she owed me wasn't money. It was the chance to discover that some things, family, integrity, the courage to do what's right even when it costs you everything, are worth more than all the millions in the world.